Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us here for another episode of Panther Playback. I'm your host, Lauren Hunter, and I'm joined here on the couch tonight by Defensive Coordinator Robby Roxbury. So thank you for joining us, Coach.
Thank you.
And then we have also got Lance Patton, who's a left tackle and a senior. And then we've got Joseph Rockenbaugh. Is that right? All right, awesome. Number 78 in nose guard, and you are also a senior. So welcome, guys. Thank you for being here on the show with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. And I know that you guys just walked off the field from practice, and I always like to give y'all a shout out because I know it's probably a long day. You get up early, you go to class, and then you have to go to football practice, and then you come over here to the show. So we definitely appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with us for a little bit and talking about some football. So this show is all about the Union Panthers football team. And, of course, guys, you know, big win on Friday night against Putnam County. So congratulations for that. And now we're going to go ahead and just because I know that we are already in week 7. Is that, are we week? I forgot earlier. It's week 7. And it's just crazy to me that we're already so far along into football season. I mean, especially for you guys that are seniors. I mean, undoubtedly, you're like, where is the time going?
It's crazy. Flying by.
It's flying by. I mean, your senior season, and it's already almost over. It's crazy. So anyway, we'll get to kind of the other stuff in just a minute. But I like to give our viewers a little bit of a look at the region, and you guys are in Region 8 for 2A classification. So you guys, with this win, you are 5-0 overall in the season, so undefeated. Congratulations for that. And then, of course, 2-0 in the region. And then just to look at the region, Elbert, Banks, Rabun, and you guys, Union County, are tied for first with a record of 2-0 in the region. And then we've got Social Circle, Monticello, Oglethorpe, and Putnam tied for 5th with a record of 0-2. And then, of course, this weekend, just to give everybody a look into what's going to be happening on Friday night, Monticello is going to be at Putnam County. So the two teams that you guys just played are going to be going head-to-head. Banks County at Rabun County, Oglethorpe at Social Circle, and then Elbert at Union County. So, just to kind of jump into it, you know, you guys, you won the first region game, and now you just got the second region game in the books. You know, tell me a little bit, when you get into the first region game, I'm sure there's a little bit of a hype about it, because you're like, oh, first region game, you know, we got that win, and then the second game, you've kind of got to stick with that hype, but also stay focused and say, okay, well, we got this one too, or we need to get this one before you're going into it. So, Coach Roxbury, we'll start with you. Now, what was it going in there and going ahead and clinching that second region win?
Well, we had to overcome a lot of adversity. It's a 2-hour and 45-minute drive, and I think the game start time, I think we were at 90, 91, 92 degrees, something like that. So it was really warm. Of course, you can say it's the same for both sides. But that adversity going down through there and just preparing, I felt like we were the better team going into it, but knew that they had some key players in some positions that were really good. And as we talked earlier, they made a quarterback change before the game. And put their track star back there at fullback. And so that adjustment, it took us a quarter to get used to that. And so they played super fast. Tip our hat to them because they came out and did the things that they needed to do to win the ball game. It was their homecoming, so they were excited. But once we settled into the second quarter, then we started gaining momentum, got a key turnover, got the ball back to the offense, and the offense, they just rock and rolled after that and did a great job. So that was some of the key things. But there again, like I said, we've got to tip our hat to them because they came out with a personnel package that we had kind of in mind, that they were going to do some things, and they threw us a curveball, so to speak. With it, and so it got us out of position. Their speed got us out of position, and we just had to adjust throughout the game and keep making adjustments, and and finally outlasted them, so to speak.
Yeah, and so you mentioned those adjustments a little bit and how the defense had to adjust to that. But I would say the defense, came out and y'all had several interceptions, a couple of turnovers as well. I mean, I would still say that the defense came out and adjusted quickly, as you mentioned. So tell us a little bit, how did you tell those guys, okay, we're seeing this and now we've got to adjust, and then how do you feel like they did?
Well, we didn't respond the way we wanted to, but we ended up having to make two defensive calls for what they were doing, because they would come out and with the same personnel and line up in one package, and then they would be in spread. And so we were having to make two calls. That was one adjustment that we had to make, and then getting our strength adjusted to that. And I think we ended up with 5 turnovers, I believe. We had 3 picks, 1 fumble, and one fumble recovery on the kickoff.
Yes.
And but those key things in crucial moments is what what helped us win that and secure the game. So.
Yeah, and how about you expand on some of those crucial moments for us a little bit? I mean, looking at my notes right now, this is what I have on here, and we have a sideline reporter, James Wolfe, who does an awesome job in giving us all of this information. But I have that y'all managed to force punts on the 3rd and 7th drives. Caston Hemphill had 2 interceptions. Clayton Lester picked off a pass and recovered a fumble. And then John Mancuso was credited with a lot of tackles in the game as well. So really a display of defensive strength there. So, Coach, how about you tell us a little bit, how did you prepare these guys to go out and to play like this and to get those interceptions and to get those turnovers as well?
Well, I think it actually starts going back into April, and these guys can probably attest to that with the spring practice that we did, and we were kind of limited to, and then the work that they put in throughout the summer. This was not when I said earlier that we had to adjust with 2 calls. This was something we did back in the summertime in our shoulder pad camps, and had that in our pocket, so to speak. And it just so happened that we needed it in this time. But the interceptions and the tackles, I mean, John has been a playmaker probably since about the Elbert game last year. He really turned on in the game 6 and really carried through. He had a good cohort with him with Chayton Schaefer to learn from, and John has really stepped up and I feel like he's probably one of the leaders on the defense, not the leader, but one of the leaders. And he's doing the same thing with Caston that Chayton did with John. So he's got him under his wing a little bit and helping him. And JJ's one. He'll be here in just a minute. Those guys are getting a lot of experience. And the stuff that we do throughout the summer with shoulder pad camps and 7-on-7s and things of that, it all just comes together in that game to help. So
right. Thank you, Coach. And guys, I want to bring you in as well. You guys are both playing defensive positions, so tell me a little bit about how each of you prepared for this second region game.
Well, we went into the game with a good mindset, honestly, but as Coach Roxbury said, we did have to overcome a lot of adversity, because I heard when we stepped off from the first quarter, the first quarter lasted 45 minutes for us, and it was 90-something degrees. And I also heard we didn't come into halftime until like 9:30. That's usually when we're starting, like, fourth quarter.
Right.
So it was like playing 3 football games in one ball game. But overall, I think we all came together and really just fought through it and battled and won the ball game.
With them moving quick, really, it's hard for a guy this big to keep up with them. But I overcame it, and we just did great things, won the ball game.
Yeah, and you guys played an awesome game and won an awesome game. Now, you mentioned, Lance, a little bit, staying in that mindset. You said it was basically like you were playing 3 football games. I mean, that's crazy. And let me just say, why is it 90 degrees in September? Why it is like that still, I have no idea.
I was wondering the same thing.
I mean, and for you guys to be out there in shoulder pads and everything, too, I'm like, gosh, But anyway, so you guys, you mentioned how it was like playing 3 football games, and tell me a little bit about how you guys stay focused and how you work on maybe during the off season. I know a lot of work goes into it during the off season, but how you prepare for this upcoming game where that maybe I'm going to have to keep going. I'm going to have to keep driving for 4 quarters straight.
We want to make it to the playoffs and win that playoff game, which hasn't been done in a while. So we just want to clinch that. And
we really just I want to win that playoff game. I think we're all willing to do whatever it takes to try to achieve.
We have the right people and the talent to do it. We just got to push ourselves.
We have to
overcome the adversity.
We have to work at
and
it.
We'll win.
Yeah, I can tell you guys are hungry for it, and you're willing to put in the work, and that's awesome. And Coach, I know you've got to be proud, and you've got to be excited for these guys and for all the work that they're putting in. Now, also another thing that I kind of like to ask the players when we come in on this show is, after doing a couple of these shows with Coach Allison and some of your teammates, I've discovered that you guys kind of like to say, you're striving each day to be 1% better. So I've formulated this question in a way specifically for you guys on the Union County team. What is your 1% for this week? So, maybe it's something that has happened in one of the previous games, or maybe it's something that's happened a while back that you said, okay, this week, and I'm sure you guys have been looking at the film and everything for the Elbert County game, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. I know you guys are probably on the edge of your seats wanting to talk about that. So, tell me, what's your 1% for each of you? And Lance, we'll start with you, and then we'll go over to Joseph. What are you going to take this week, and no matter what, when you walk off the field, be able to say, okay, that's what I nailed today? It's hard to pick just one thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do so much during, honestly, it would have to be team, I guess. Mm-hmm. Because when we're all going at it and we're not split up or anything, and then we're actually playing it as like a game-like situation, I think that really helps us to get that 1% better, as long as everybody's doing their job, executing with perfection, all that.
And how about you, Joseph?
I'd have to agree. My 1% better every week is just I need to work on getting off the ball quick and filling my gap, which is my main priority. And if I work to get better 1% every week, I'll just be great at it.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, another point that you kind of made, Lance, that I want to capitalize on is, how are you guys coming together as a defense? Do you feel I like to ask this every week as well to see the answers as we go throughout the weeks. How do you feel like you guys are coming together as a defense so far at this point in the region play?
I feel we have a lot of good athletic defensive players that can do the job, and they have been doing the job, as you can see. Now, there's a lot of things I feel like that we have to work on, of course, going into this Elbert County game in the weeks after that. But I honestly think we'll be fine. We just got to keep working at it, give it 100%, never give up.
Awesome. Thank you, Lance. Joseph?
Our defense is just, we keep getting better every week, and we're all starting to come together, work as a unit. And as long as we keep doing that, we'll win every game. But as long as our defense just keeps doing their job, we'll be good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and thank you for joining us for this first segment. It's already over. I mean, that went by quick, right? So thank you, everyone, for tuning in for this week's episode of Panther Playback. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Coach Roxbury will be here with us still, but we're going to have 2 more players from the Union County Panthers football team. Don't go anywhere.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us here for this week's episode of Panther Playback. Now, before I forget again, I would like to thank our sponsors, Circuit World of Blairsville, for allowing us to broadcast the show live here, as well as Downtown Pizza and Pepsi for the food and beverages that they provide to the players. I know that these guys appreciate it because I want to mention again, these guys do awesome about as soon as they walk off the field from practice, they come over here and join us for Panther Playback. So, guys, thank you so much for being here with us today. Now, I want to introduce our two new players that are here on the couch with us. We have Bobby Rogers, left guard, who's also a senior. And then we have J.J. Littles, cornerback, who's a junior, our lone junior for the night. But again, thank you guys so much. And of course, we've got Coach Roxbury here, defensive coordinator, joining us again. So guys, before your teammates left, we were talking about defense coming together and everything. And then also, Coach, one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is we were talking about the game against Putnam County in the last segment, but I want to focus on the game against Elbert County in this segment. Kind of like to divide it up between what happened and going ahead. Now, defense, y'all did give up the most points on Friday night that you have so far this season. So what is the plan for defense to make sure to tighten everything up and lessen that for this coming Friday?
I think the biggest thing we've worked on, starting on Sunday, as we were preparing for this game, is really working on ourselves, of eliminating some checks, simplifying some of the defensive calls, and just like I said, working on ourselves to try to simplify. I think that in itself will help everything else, because once you know what's going on and you can play fast, and Elbert has a lot of speed, Putnam has had a lot of speed, Monticello had a lot of speed, and so that in itself, just by simplifying, will help us be better, and then being in the right spot. A good friend of ours that coaches with us, Coach Setzer, he says this all the time. He says, if you don't know what to do, you do nothing at all. Mm-hmm. And that's such a true thing, whether it's football or in life. And if you're confused out there just the least little bit and a little bit hesitant, then you're going to be out of position to make a play. And I think that's the things that we've worked on, focused on, to better prepare ourselves and better ourselves for this week.
Yeah. Thank you, Coach. Now, guys, I want to bring you into as well and ask your teammates the same question, but it is an important question to ask yourselves, and then also something that we like to talk about here on the show. But the way I kind of phrase it is, what is your 1% for this week? What have you decided that maybe from this past weekend's game or from a game before that you said, okay, this is what I'm going to take on, and every day at practice I'm going to keep grinding to make sure that this is perfect for this Friday?
My 1% better is just, be more physical in their own man-to-man. Because I know they're going to out-jump me, so I got to get ready to stay with them stride for stride.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Bobby?
I'm just going to try and stay on blocks and be more physical, because most of the time the D linemen are bigger than me, and I have to be physical so I can keep a block on them.
Mm-hmm. Now, Coach, what would you say right now are your greatest defensive strengths for the Panthers going into this game against Blue Devils, I believe? The Blue Devils.
Yes.
And name us some key players as well on defense.
Well, I think our inside linebackers, they do a really good job with Sloan Sutton and Clayton Lester. John and Caston are doing a good job. Zion Ross, he's been flipping back and forth, having to play offense and defense some on both sides. Zion has been he's had to play on the faster receivers. He's had a heck of a job to do every week, and he's done a good job with them. And then our defensive line is those guys are working hard with Nathaniel Ledford, and Rock. Those guys are doing a tremendous job. So I think those things, if we can, like they said earlier, if we can just keep getting just a little bit better each week, each day, and then and just strive for perfection. One of the things that we kind of talk about a lot is just trust the process. The destination, we'll get there. Let's trust the process, and Friday night will take care of itself. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Coach. Now, also, we've been talking about the region games. Y'all are in this will be your third region game. You're 2-0 in the region, 5-0 undefeated in the regular season overall. Elbert is one of the counties that's in the top 4 with y'all. So what is your greatest priority? And Elbert County is 3-2 in the regular season, but 2-0 in the region, so same as y'all. They beat Oglethorpe 64-0, Social Circle 56-7. In games so far, they've only allowed 21 points in the games that they've won. So what is the greatest priority for your defense against this Elbert County team?
I think it's going to be to stop the run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's just hands down. They have some deep threats as far as receivers. I wouldn't take anything or saying anything negative about that, but stopping their run game is going to be first and foremost for us. They have some their offensive line is really good. Tight end and their blocking back, wing back is really good, and then their quarterback and receiver are really good, very fast, and very elusive. So they are they're a very good team. They're very well coached. They're very disciplined in the things that they do, and it's going to be a tough test for us for sure. And you can say this about every game, and Coach Allison says it all the time, but it's going to come down to 3 or 4 plays. And if those 3 or 4 plays are to our benefit, we'll win the ball game. If it turns the other way, we could very well lose the ball game. So, but I think just being in position and doing what we do, take care of our business, what we can control, and then the outcome will take care of itself. So.
Yeah, and you bring up a very good point with that. Sometimes it comes down to 2 or 3 plays, and that's even something that James mentioned in his article about the game against Putnam County, was that it really came down to those turnovers that y'all made to get the ball back and to continue with the offensive drives. So also, we talked a little bit about how this was the second game in region play. You're going into the third one, and talking about taking it one, and trust the process, taking it one step at a time. How do you keep the guys focused from game to game? Because it's easy sometimes, I believe, to get caught up in the hype of, we're 5-0 in the regular season, we're 2-0 in the region. Now, how do you, when you get out there on the field, especially for practice on Monday afternoon, I assume it is that y'all go out there for practice, how do you keep them focused?
Well, it's not that hard, to be honest with you, because we are such a senior-laden team. And the juniors that are out there, they're very mature, and they just take care of their business. These guys have been a part of the program since they were 9 years old. Wow. And so they have a lot invested in it. And so now that it's their time, these guys they've set goals, and the leadership that they have committed, and it's amazing. They come out and are focused, and it's a lot on them. They realize what it's for, what it's about. We were talking earlier about a playoff victory. We've never had a playoff victory for football, and so that's something that just burns deep down inside for them, that they really, really want. And this is just another step. It's not, I don't think that they look ahead. I think they, probably to a certain degree, to be honest with you, it happens, but I don't think they overlook anybody. I don't think it happened last week or the week before. I think it's who we got this week, and let's focus on that. And I'm telling you, they come out they come in on Sunday afternoon and watch film, and then Monday, I mean, it's business. This is what we do. They're committed to it. They put their hand on the helmet, and that's what we do. So.
That's awesome. Thank you, Coach. Now, you have actually opened the door perfectly for me to bring in these 2 guys back right here. And you were talking about, Coach, that these guys have been in the program, a lot of them, since they were 9 years old. So, Bobby, we'll start with you since you're a senior. How have you seen this team and this program change and grow over the 4 years that you've been a senior, or that you've been a senior, but that you've been playing for the school?
We just all kind of matured, and I didn't play for my junior or sophomore year, but I played for my freshman and then now this year. And over watching them, I've seen them grow as a team and just trust each other, so that they got each other's backs, and just know that they're not out there alone. They got a team with them.
Now, how about you, JJ? I know that you're a junior, but undoubtedly you've been in this program for a while too. So Give us your perspective on that.
Since my freshman year, I've actually learned a lot from Chayton, Caston, and all them because they've got more playing time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always there watching, paying attention, and the more we've practiced, the more we've bonded together and got stronger.
That's awesome. Now I asked these guys, you guys just you're almost doing my job for me because you keep bringing up excellent points that I can go off of. But I asked the guys that were here before you, how is the defense coming together as a defense? I mean, that's a pretty simple question.
Like on some plays, we need like a big stop, and we always find a way to come out with a big stop with his play calls because they always figure out what's going to come out next, and we just got to play it and make the plays.
Mm-hmm. Now, Coach, that also brings me to another question. Last week when Coach Allison was here, we were talking about some of the seniors because there's like 15 seniors on the team this year, I believe. Is that about right, Bobby? So, James had said in his articles that it's almost like they step up at just the right moments, just in the key moments of the game when you need them, and it's evident in some of the plays that we have here that we mentioned on defense. And there were some incredible, and I don't want to leave out our offense as well. Quarterback Pearson Allison had a great game with 23 for 34 passing and 426 yards with 6 touchdowns. Running back Jonah Daniel, 227 yards rushing over 21 carries with 3 touchdowns. Wideout Sawyer Drake, who was also our player of the week, 9 catches for 161 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then wide receiver Kyle Morlock, 7 catches for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. So just incredible game on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. But tell us about some of the seniors as well and how they're stepping up into these leadership roles.
Well, some of those guys that you mentioned, with Sawyer and Pearson and Kyle, Cabo's another one. Jonah crosses over some, but all of those guys also cross over to defense as well, and they, they help uplift us as a defense itself. Bringing their dynamic ness, if that's a word, to the defensive side of the ball. Their explosiveness, their speed. They are extremely smart. These guys do a tremendous job about being in position, about getting the right checks, as I said earlier, as we've kind of simplified a little bit. But, offenses, people don't realize it's not the same game as it was 30 years ago. The game of football is not. And offenses have gotten, the complexity has grown so high that defenses have had to catch up. And I don't think they're there yet, but I think it's slowly growing. And it's just by trying to have to trick that 17-year-old. That 18-year-old that's on the other side of the ball, that's got the ball in his hands every play, we have to try to figure out a way to trick him, whether it's an alignment or a stunt or whatever the case may be. But I just want to say the offensive guys, they are so impressive. The things that they can do, coaches and the players, it is amazing what they do week in and week out. And sometimes you take it for granted because you see it every day.
Right.
But when you go back and actually look at it, it's
the stats and everything.
Amazing,
Yeah, and I'll just add my 2 cents onto that. Whenever I do this research, a lot of the information does come from James, and I'll go on and look at the stats myself. But I'm just always so impressed, offense and defense, looking at how little points the defense has allowed, and then looking at this game and the turnovers that were there, and then offense obviously with the rushing and passing and all of that great stuff. I mean, it's just, I'm always blown away as well. You guys are doing an awesome job, and we wish you the best of luck as you continue region play and
Thank you.
Go from there. Yep.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we are going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Panther Playback. Again, I want to thank these guys for joining us here on the couch tonight. And also, before we go any further, I want to thank Circuit World of Blairsville for allowing us to host here tonight, as well as Downtown Pizza and Pepsi for the amazing food and beverages. Now, don't forget, every Friday night, we have a sideline reporter, James Wolfe, who goes to watch all these guys play, and they will be at home This Friday night kickoff, 7:30 p.m. against the Elbert County Blue Devils. So definitely follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TeamFYNSports for score updates, coaches interviews, pictures, videos, everything that you can think of. And also on Monday mornings at 10:10 a.m. I did it this morning. I'll do it next morning as well. I talk about these guys every Monday morning, as well as the other teams that we cover in Team FYN Sports coverage on my North Georgia's only live online sports show, Instant Replay, live on our Team FYN Sports Facebook page. Thank you for watching here tonight. I'm Lauren Hunter. Have a great week, everyone.